it's going now. So, what were some things you're feeling before what you're going through?
Mostly, like, biggest problems I had were if I sat for too long, especially if I was driving in stop and go traffic. I would get really, really bad pains along the hamstrings and up into like sort of the lower buttocks and upper thighs, especially on my right leg. And then I would stand and it would be really stiff, and I would have a really hard time sort of getting my legs to get flexible again and be able to walk. So that was a big issue. And then also just my back in general, it kind of went up my back, and I always felt like there was something on my back that was kind of trying to bend me over. Like my muscles were just always tightening, and my shoulders were always rolling forward, things like that. So there's a lot of just stiffness and inflexibility, pain from that, especially from being inactive. If I was being sedentary or sitting too long or not doing anything, then I would just all along my back, almost from the backs of my ears to my heels, I would just tense up to the point where it was hard for me to even stand up straight. So that was probably the biggest issue.
And then, how long has it been like this?
Off and on for a couple of years. I had a minor surgery last year that put me out of sort of exercise commission for maybe 2 or 3 months between leading up to it and recovery time, and that kind of put me out of commission. Things were much worse. It was hard for me to get back into any kind of exercise regimen after that. So that was when it got really bad. I've had sort of small nagging back problems here and there for a while, like a couple of years, pretty much since I started my current career, which requires me to sit all day long. So that, but as far as bad as it was when I started, probably about a year ago was when I had the surgery. So it's been pretty much since then, kind of getting progressively worse. And of course, the worse it got, the harder it was for me to exercise, which meant, that then it would get even worse still. So it was this just kind of compounding thing. The more sedentary I was, the more it would hurt. The more it hurt, the less active I could be, and it just kept going from there.
And how much has the GBS affected what you're going through?
And so it's hard to say because I got sick right before puberty, so it was sort of my developmental years I spent leaning over crutches. So I think that might have had something to do with it too, that I always kind of had this sort of slight curve forward. A lot of it too is from years of looking at the ground in front of me, because I had a tendency to trip over things more easily, so I was always looking for cracks in the sidewalk or tree roots or anything that I could trip over. So, a lifetime of looking 1 or 2 feet in front of me, keeping my head down, I don't imagine that helped much either. So, and then as far as my upper legs compensating for my lower legs, that might have had something to do also with the tension in my hamstrings, because they were doing all the work for my legs, since from the knee down there's really not much going on. So that could have been it too. I mean, I've never had anybody explain it medically to me as to why, what could have caused any of it, or how the GBS might have affected my back or my legs or anything else as far as the pain is concerned. But those have always been the guesses and observations I've made over the years.
And what did it feel like in terms of the treatment the first week?
First week was pretty painful. During the treatment, it always felt better afterwards, and that was always the trick. And I guess that's why, I stuck with it, because I knew I'd seen the other testimonials on the website. So I just figured, and I figured that it was at least worth getting a try. And I tried almost everything else. I've done chiropractic and acupuncture, massage, and got moderate to limited relief. I would always feel good for a couple of days, and then it would just sort of go back to the way it was. But the fact that I would always feel better afterwards, I'd feel there'd be soreness after the first couple of sessions, but it felt like working out with weights when you hadn't in a while. You would have that sort of sore muscle feeling, which in a way it kind of feels good, because it feels like you were doing something, like actually making some kind of progress, doing something beneficial for yourself. So, but I always felt better right after the session, which is pretty much why I stuck with it after that first week or so. But yeah, I mean, it was rough. It was rough during the process.
And you were saying something like after the first treatment, it felt like every bone in you or every muscle in you was very sore for a whole week. So
yeah, after the very first treatment, I felt like that after workout soreness for almost a week. Yeah, it was probably because the first one was on a Sunday, and I felt like that still on Friday, and then it started to kind of calm down a little bit after that. But then, of course, as treatment progressed, the recovery time got less and less to the point where there was no soreness at all afterwards. So.
And how many weeks did it take before the soreness started to disappear?
Probably 2. I'd probably say definitely after the second week, I wasn't getting any soreness at all. And that's a conservative estimate. It might have even been before that, but definitely after the second week, at the latest, I wasn't getting any soreness the day after whatsoever.
But when did it feel like that your body was starting to adapt to where you weren't feeling the pain of the soreness from your muscles being tight?
Well, I could definitely feel a difference week 2 to week 1. It still hurt, but by week 3 and 4, it really started getting to the point where the pain was significantly less. It was a lot more tolerable, and the treatment mostly just sort of it started feeling actually good as opposed to torturous, which is what it was earlier on. But yeah, and it was like I could feel the sort of the loosening of the muscles almost immediately, and I always slept really good that night after I got home. Especially after a shower, I would go to bed and I would sleep like a rock all night long. So yeah, definitely like 3rd, 4th week, the things that were just killing me in the first week were hardly hurting at all anymore. So.
Well, in closing, is there anything else that you want to add?
Well, only I guess anybody that tries it and thinks about giving up after that first or second session because of the pain, just bite your lip and deal with it, because it gets a lot better, and it's definitely worth it in the long run.
That's what I'd say with the average person to where it's pretty sore, really sore the first couple times, and from there then, like I said, it gets better. But you're able in order to, if you're a person that's able to last through this, and you're able to last this through the first couple weeks, which was actually the most difficult. So, I mean, that's something that's admirable.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, it pays to stick with it. I mean, it definitely does, and the pain and the uncomfortability, whatever, it definitely trails off pretty significantly after that first week. So I guess to be cliche about it, it's a good kind of hurt.
Then